Good morning, I'm Jason Stanton. This is my musing for Friday, June 25th. Today is the last day of my Bible Readers Project. I'm not sure how many have been Bible reading with me over the last year. I know last summer, in the heat of COVID time, I had a really good idea to, what if we read the whole Bible all the way through? And did so 5 out of every 7 days, and I did a little video every day for 5 minutes to kind of help keep things flowing, maybe describe some things that a typical reading wouldn't bring out, or there's no way to know this stuff unless you read commentaries, which many people don't have such resources. It's part of what being a pastor is about. So anyway, it's been a really helpful project to me, and I know to those who have participated, many have shared with me what it's meant, and now it's done. The whole year is complete, which feels really good, really good. So that's one thing I'm musing about. But it also marks a year since I began, and I remember that it was a year ago that I went on vacation last. We annually do a trip with our best friends from seminary and their families this year and last to Colorado Springs, because that's where one of us lives, and long story as to why we can't really travel away, but from that spot, so that's where we've been meeting these 2 years. And of course, the anticipation of a vacation is perhaps just as much of a gift, to me anyway, as the trip itself. And so you make sure you have everything you need, and you shop for those things that you don't have, and you imagine, okay, how many meals will we need in the vehicle? So what do we pack the cooler with? And budgeting time, budgeting money, all that kind of thing. And of course, as we get to the week of, it moves kind of from just a joyful anticipation to a little more burdensome, like, okay, so do I have the laundry clean? Do I have the yard mown? Do I have a plan for while I'm gone? Who's going to take care of this? Water the plants, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, in this week of those final kinds of preparations, crossing T's and dotting I's, our van dies. And it was actually funny how this worked. I dropped one of our kids off at a summer school class, and on the way back from dropping that child off, I noticed like a trail through my neighborhood of like an oil trail. And I thought, boy, somebody's really got some problems. It was me. Because when I got back to the garage where this vehicle sits, there was a puddle of oil sitting there. Great. It's not like we need that vehicle to, go thousands of miles over the course of a few weeks here. So anyway, that became a crisis. And that was, of course, the morning after a tooth in my mouth that has been flagged by my dentist for like 14 years. He told me, when it goes, you'll know, and it went. And that was great too. So I got to have a root canal. Never had one of those before. And of course, this is all happening in the midst of all the preparations and everything else that we're trying to make for this trip. And despite all the stress of, do we have to buy a new vehicle, or do we, can this dentistry work be done before we leave? All that stress, and yet it turns out we could get it all done. It was all possible. And it just makes me feel thankful. Thankful that it happened this week instead of in the middle of our trip. And who knows what next week will bring, of course. But also thankful for all of the help that's out there. A couple Beatles songs came to mind. The first one was Help. I need someone to help, just anyone. That's one of my favorite Beatles songs. I'm reading the lyrics here. I never needed anybody's help in any way, which of course isn't true for me, but I act like that sometimes. So I like that line. But now these days are gone. I'm not so self-assured. And now I find I've changed my mind and opened up the doors. And then he just says, help me if you can. I'm feeling down, and I do appreciate you being around. Help me get my feet back on the ground. Won't you please help me? that could have been the lyrics to that song could have been put right before my wife's plea on Facebook. Do you have any ideas as to a mechanic who can fix this vehicle? Because we tried like 4 or 5 mechanics who were all completely busy and full. And finally we did. We got the help we needed, which led me to the other Beatles song that I had in mind. We got by with a little help from our friends. So I come to this last musing for a little while. Pastor Karen will continue hers before her trip later this summer. But I just thank God for the help that I have received this week so that I could have a pain-free mouth and hopefully a van that works all the way out and back from our trip. But I also thank God for all the help. I mean, this is just kind of the tip of the iceberg, if you will. There's so much help that I receive from friends, from family, from sometimes strangers who are just willing to make my life better. And I try to, of course, pay that back in the different ways that I'm gifted to do. And that seems to be a good way as we go into another weekend, a beautiful summer weekend. It's a good way to think about this God-gifted life, that we get to receive help gratefully, and we get to give help, knowing how much it means to those who need us. So let that Beatles song be your theme this weekend as we all keep faith alive.